we're talking about in different parts of the autism spectrum, right? So I had 8 kids from 10 to 12. The first couple of kids who were most in the autism spectrum, I have a kid that couldn't even read or write yet. He was 12, but he couldn't read or write yet. And on the whole opposite of the spectrum, I had a high potential kid who was very capable, but he had emotional issues. And this is where the autism spectrum was very obvious, right? So I had to adapt the project to be for each one of the kids to be able to do something at their level. And so this experiment started, or this project started, because we started talking about, can plants grow without soil? That was my initial question. And of course, all of the kids were like, no, really. And why can't they grow without soil? Well, because soil provides nutrients. Okay, but what if we add water with nutrients? Would it grow? And that's when, the kids stopped. Like, I don't know.
Mm.
Well, okay. So then let's talk about what is a plant, right? And so we started talking, okay, what is a plant? Well, a plant is an organism that requires what? It requires water, it requires sunlight, and it requires nutrients. But we also need to understand what the plant is made of. And this is where the cells come in, right? Now, of course, I didn't go into the complex details of what each part of the cell does, but they do have an idea that there is a machinery in the cell that is needed for the plant to be able to eat, to sleep, and to breathe, which is exactly what we do, which is what we are as humans. We are a machinery, right? So when they have the plant cell, which of course I gave them some guidelines, but then I gave them, the classical plant cell image or diagram that we usually see, and they had to reproduce that in Play-Doh. And so once we had that in Play-Doh, now we know what is a plant, what it needs, and what it looks like, and what it is made of. And so from then, the question started arising. Well, if a plant it can actually grow without soil, does that mean that plants can grow on the moon? I'm like, that's a great question. What if we test that out? How would we test that out? And so, of course, then the questions were like, well, we would have to try to grow a plant without soil. And I'm like, exactly. And how do we do that? Well, we would need lights. Okay, but if we don't have sun, what can we use as light? We can use a light bulb. Exactly, we can use a light bulb. But how do we know if the light bulb is effective? Because, well, there can be also different lights. We can have yellow light, we can have blue light, we can have red light. So we can try bulbs of the different colors. I'm like, exactly. So it was a whole process. And at the end, actually, the kids managed to grow in little mason jars, the little beans, the white beans. They actually managed to grow in different mason jars without soil. And they realized that, and they measured the growth of the plant for each one of the different lights and realized that there are several lights that are better than others, and that actually plants can also grow without light. They're going to look different, but they can grow without light.
I bet they had fun with that project. Really got them thinking. And what I find interesting, Vicky, is from one learning spectrum to the other, you've got to find ways to bring them together and help all of them understand.
So they actually help each other. The teachers that were there as well, that know them more than I know them, they would also foster this kind of teamwork. And so they would tell me, this person works better with this one. Try to avoid mixing these two because they're problematic. Of course, especially because they are special kids, you will have to kind of try to adapt as much as possible. And also, what is their level of comfort? Because now we're also talking about kids with special needs.